More National Guard troops are heading to Washington as part of the federal takeover of D.C. police. Republican governors from South Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia say they are sending hundreds of troops at the request of the Trump administration. The White House told CBS they may be armed, but they will apparently not be making arrests. CBS News Department of Justice reporter Jake Rosen is in our Washington newsroom this morning. So, Jake, what else do we know about these deployments?
Well, Vlad, there's already 800 National Guard here from Washington, D.C. If you add all those numbers up of what these Republican governors say they're going to bring, it would essentially double that, about 750 new National Guard members here. Again, like you said, the White House and Pentagon have not ruled out these National Guard troops potentially being armed, though they are not right now. There are not even weapons in their vehicles. Right now, their purpose is to simply, to quote, support law enforcement functions. And as you can see there in a lot of these images, they're just protecting property around Washington, D.C., whether it is the train station that you saw right there, movement and areas along the National Mall, Capitol Hill, the White House. Because there hasn't really been any large-scale protests, there hasn't really been any large-scale crime or criminal activity here that is outside the norm, what these guardsmen are doing is essentially just holding a post, waiting for something to change, and I think it's unclear, at least to this reporter, what an additional 750 would do, seeing as though at least throughout the last 4 or 5 days as these guardsmen have officially been deployed across the city, there really has not been much for them to do in the last couple of days.
Jake, so the White House has already made some changes in its approach after the AG tried to appoint an interim police chief. Tell me about that.
Well, we saw on Thursday night into Friday, Attorney General Pam Bondi attempt to remove the police chief here in Washington, D.C. after a court hearing Friday, after the city government here at the district sued. There was some success in this. The police chief that the Trump administration put in, who's actually the head of the DEA, was removed from their post. The police chief here, Pamela Smith, is back in place. But the big question remains, as part of that big sweeping move on Thursday night by Attorney General Pam Bondi, was to kind of replace the city's sanctuary city laws and essentially force 3,300 Metropolitan Police officers here to comply with the federal government's immigration undertakings across the city and the district. That has so far kind of been punted to this week. There's no scheduled hearing officially on the books here, but that argument will continue.
All right. And as you know, some Democratic lawmakers are trying to end this federalization entirely. Break down their arguments and the status of that effort.
Well, there's a bill in the House that was introduced over the weekend by Democratic lawmakers that would force President Trump to withdraw kind of the control he has over the city's law enforcement and National Guard. But Vlad, simply the easiest solution here is D.C. statehood. The mayor has said it herself. In that case, the city and the city's government would have control over their National Guard and would have firmer control over their police forces. That's obviously not going to happen. It would take an act of Congress and a signing by President Trump. And he said that will never happen as he's continued to complain about the crime rates and has accused city government, even again this morning, of faking crime stats, which has led to what he says, the feeling of people being unsafe in the country, in the city.
All right, Jake Rosen reporting for us this morning. Jake, thank you.